The capital of the United States of America makes no sense. It's not in a state, it has no congressional representation, and it has 0 tall buildings. Like, how is it even a city? Welcome to Washington, D.C. The city is named after General George Washington, the first president of the United States, and it serves as the political capital of the entire country. D.C., District of Columbia, its other official name, signifies that the city is different from any other city, and it's not part of a state, it is a federal district. The city was established in 1790, and it was never made a part of any state, so that no state would be favored over any other one. As the capital of the United States of America, Washington, D.C. holds many federal government buildings and institutions, such as the Capitol, where Congress meets. About 10 years ago, I actually got to go inside, and I'm pretty sure I saw the room where the congressmen or senators meet. I'm not sure which one, but it was pretty cool, and I don't think I was supposed to see it. The White House, the official residency of the President of the United States, is just another one of those buildings that screams Washington, D.C. And it's also one of those buildings that tourists just gawk at when they first see it, because it's like, oh my gosh, it's real. Many other federal government agencies are located here in the Capitol as well, such as the FBI, the Department of Education, Department of Commerce, Department of Energy, Department of Homeland Security, and many more located in the District, Maryland, and Virginia. Behind me right here is the National Mall. It's featured in movies, TV shows, and even presidential inaugurations. Situated right around the mall, you can find museums, stores, and tons of monuments. Most famous being the Washington Monument. But there is another monument to Washington in the DC area. Click this video right up here, take a gander. The National Mall is south of what's considered downtown DC. The western end of the mall starts with the Lincoln Memorial, moving over the reflecting pool, and then to the various war memorials. In the middle of the National Mall, just south of the White House, is the Washington Monument. And then continuing there, you have the open grass and the Smithsonian Institution various museums. Continuing east, you get the Capitol reflecting pool and then the Capitol building itself. This is the part of the city that tourists frequent the most, that is one of the most safest, and that has something for pretty much everyone. The Washington Monument, reflecting pool, and Lincoln Memorial are 3 of many iconic parts of the National Mall. One of the best parts of the city is the plethora of free museums that you could visit under the Smithsonian Institution. Museums such as the Air and Space Museum, the Natural History Museum, and the American History Museum are all right here in the heart of Washington, D.C. These museums offer visitors an opportunity to explore various interests from art to culture to science and to history. The best thing about them is that they're completely free, as long as you don't count taxes. The presence of numerous embassies here in Washington, D.C. contributes to its international character. The embassies represent the diplomatic interests of their respective nations and contribute to the city's overall cultural and linguistic diversity. The Embassy District, located along Massachusetts Avenue, is often referred to as Embassy Row and is a testament to the city's importance as a diplomatic hub for the entire world. Every May, countries of the European Union open up their doors and let us get a little whiff of their country's culture. This last May, I went to the Irish, Swedish, and Danish embassies and got to see a little bit of what they're all about. Speaking of Europe, Washington, D.C. was a planned city, and it was planned by a man by the name of Pierre Charles L'Enfant. He's most known around here as the L'Enfant Station guy, connecting 7 different rail stations across the region. The stations are the blue, green, orange, silver, and yellow lines of the Metro and the Manassas and Fredericksburg's line of the VRE. Most cities the size of Washington, D.C. have a central area with a bunch of tall buildings. Think Denver or Boston. But DC doesn't. We're right here in downtown DC, and these are the tallest buildings around. The reason why is because of a law passed 100 years ago. The lack of tall buildings in DC is due to 2 pieces of legislation, one in 1899 and one in 1910. This was the Height of Buildings Act. They were passed to keep people safe due to fears at the time that tall buildings would not last very long and firefighting equipment couldn't only reach so high. The act states that 90 feet, or about 6 stories high, is the limit for most buildings, or 130 feet for buildings on certain wider roads. There were several buildings that were given an exception, like the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception, that's a mouthful, the Washington National Cathedral, and 1 Franklin Square, completed in 1989. Skyscrapers! If you're looking for tall skyscrapers like in New York or Chicago, you won't find them within the city limits of DC. But in Silver Spring, Bethesda, and Roslyn, you can find plenty of tall buildings. Washington, D.C. area boasts an extensive, efficient, and well-used transit system. The Washington Metro Area Transit Authority, also known as WMATA, runs over 200 bus routes in Maryland, D.C., and Virginia. WMATA also runs a 6-lined metro system that connects D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. The metro connects various parts of the city and extends into the inner suburbs of both Maryland and Virginia, making it one of the most comprehensive rapid rail systems in the United States. In 2018, which was the last year I could find good data, the Washington Metro had 173 million riders, just after New York City and Chicago respectively. DC has a lower metropolitan population than both New York and Chicago. However, its metro and bus system are some of the most well-used in the United States. Also on Pennsylvania Avenue, they have this middle running bike lane type thing. I've never seen it before in any city, but I just wanted to point it out. Until 1961, DC residents could not vote in presidential elections, but the 23rd Amendment passed and it was given 3 electoral votes, along with these states right here. Behind me right there is the offices of the government of DC, the district mayor and all the council members, all that type of stuff. And the reason I'm here is because residents in Washington, D.C. still do not have full political representation in our government. They have one congresswoman. She does not get to vote on anything. That's why one of D.C.'s main models is taxation without representation. The federal government taxes D.C. residents just like everyone else, but they don't have representation in the House or the Senate in the federal government. In the past few decades, D.C. has become one of the most gentrifying cities in the entire country. Howard University and its surrounding areas is one of the locations that's feeling gentrification the hardest. The influx of high-income residents has made it difficult for low-income college students and long-time renters to continue living in that area. The new residents have complained about traditional community activities, and long-standing local businesses have also gone out of business due to a change in the people living in the neighborhood. Gentrification was really slowed down by the pandemic in 2020. And now we're hitting a point between status quo and gentrification, but only time will really tell. If you want to come here to our capital, there's plenty of ways to do it. Number 1 is flying. If you're flying in from another country, you'll probably be flying into Dulles Airport. Last year was connected to Metro's Silver Line, which gives you about 1 hour to downtown DC. Airport number 2 is BWI Airport. This airport's closer to Baltimore than DC. However, there's still rail and bus connections to DC and Interstate 95. Last but not least is DCA, Ronald Reagan Airport. This is mostly a domestic airport, and it's about a 15-minute metro ride to downtown DC. Amtrak runs service all across the northeast quarter to DC, and also from cities as far as Miami, New Orleans, and Chicago. Intercity buses also run to Union Station, and Union Station is an easy transfer point to the local public transit network. You can drive into the city, but beware, parking can be really expensive, parking can be hard to find, and during rush hour, traffic can get pretty bad. But don't fret, DC's Metro runs all the way into the suburbs, which means you can drive to one of the stations, park your car, and then ride the train into most parts of the city. I recommend Trip Hacks DC for more information on visiting the city. Thank you so much for watching. Click here where I ride every type of transportation in Washington, DC.